welcome to you all. My name is Paul Kidson. I'm the Head of Postgraduate Studies in the School of Education, National School of Education at the university. And I'm going to be talking through with you this evening some of the broad scaffolds about your possible studies with us in a Master of Education course. We're delighted that you have joined with us tonight, and I'm conscious that for some of you, the recent challenges of the weather events and the ongoing implications of teacher shortages from COVID mean that you are extraordinary professionals who are dealing with some very challenging circumstances. So the fact that you've taken some time to be with us tonight, or for those of you who are later on watching this back online, we appreciate that the decision to undertake postgraduate study with us is a very significant one. So we want to introduce some important ideas for you. We want to give you enough information and scaffold out the ideas enough for you to be able to make some decisions. And at the end of it, if there are any remaining questions that you'd like to ask, then you're also able to engage directly with the university through Ask ACU, and we'll be able to support your questions, find some answers for you to help you make those important decisions. So again, welcome. I trust your day has been positive, productive. And if it's been a little bit challenging, we're really delighted that you're here with us this afternoon just to spend a little bit of time looking at your potential future. I'm going to start sharing my screen. I've got a brief presentation, and then we'll be able to open up for some questions. I've also got Carmen here with me from Future Study, and between the two of us, we're going to hopefully be able to address any of the questions or concerns that you've got. As the protocol is, if you've got some questions, drop them into the chat. We can deal with those at the end, and hopefully we've been able to give you sufficient information to be able to deal with in terms of your potential future study. So let me start sharing my screen, and we'll get into the rest of the time that we have together. Now, our Master of Education has a very clear focus in that we want you to be able to grow your expertise. All of you are in schools, mostly, who are going to be in roles where you've got some significant input. It might be in your class, it might be with your peers, it might be in a particular area of the curriculum. And what we're really keen to do is to work with you to develop your expertise in whatever field that is. And we've got a number of them from which you can choose. So if you want to come into our degrees, what is it that is going to be required for you to come and join with us? Well, firstly, the time that you're going to need is important. A full-time load, 1.5 to 2 years full-time or part-time equivalent. Undertaking that is a big commitment, and we recognise that. A lot of the study that we do is online, and there are some information, there is some information there presented around some of the costs, although for some of you, your employer or other systems might be able to support you. That's a question for you to raise with them. Apply directly to the university. Now, how do you get in? Firstly, you've got to have either a bachelor's degree in education or a bachelor's degree and a recognised teaching qualification. In my field, I started way back with a Bachelor of Arts and what was then a Diploma of Education. It would now be considered a Master of Teaching. So either of those will gain you access to a Master of Education. Now, some of you out there might also go, I'm really interested to want to be involved in education. I want to be involved in some aspects of schools or systems, TESOL or psychology. I don't have a degree in education. Can I do this degree? The answer is yes, although there are a couple of conditions about that. So hopefully you either come with a degree in education, an arts or science or some other degree, and a Master of Teaching or Diploma of Education, come in. If you've got some other degree, we also can help you. Full details about that can be found at acu.edu.au/courses/me. Go and have a look at those to check that you meet the requirements. So if you come in, here are two important pieces of information you want to hold on to. Firstly, there is either a 120 or 160 credit point schedule of unit offerings. I'm going to talk about what that means. And the reason why there's a distinction is because of that second condition. if I come to wanting to do this study and I don't have an education degree, I don't have an undergraduate degree and a postgraduate education qualification, I can still do it, but that's why I'll have to do 160 credit points. So let's just talk about for the moment, those of you who might be interested in our Master of Education and have a bachelor's degree in education or a degree and a recognized teacher qualification. There's 120 credit points. And the way that breaks down is each of our units represents 10 credit points. Each unit of 10 credit points represents around about 150 hours of work. So you would do 50 credit points of specified education units, 40 from elective units, and 30 of capstone units. We'll talk about the capstone a little bit later on, but at the moment, what I'll introduce is the capstone is a large piece of work. It actually is worth 20 credit points. You do the other 10 credit points based on how to do some research and what research means and how to go about doing it so that you can do your capstone. But ideally, it represents as it were, the crowning achievement of your graduate studies. From all of the things that you've actually come across, you want to invest a lot of time, a lot of energy, focusing on one particular aspect that's really important to your professional practice. And that's why it's worth 20 credit points. If you come in under that, here are some of the specializations that are available. Now, some of you might be interested in those specializations. Others of you might say, well, there's nothing particularly that I'm interested in one of those areas. I just want a more general experience of our Master of Education. And both of those are okay. Again, let's just keep in mind for the moment, we're talking about people who come into the degree with already a bachelor's degree in education or a bachelor's degree and a recognised teacher's qualification. So you might want to look at a specialization. It might be in psychology, it might be in STEM, it might be in TESOL, it might be in inclusive practice. You get the opportunity to nominate that as you enroll. And again, we've got some online resources to be able to help guide you with that. So what you would then do is 20 credit points from those specified educational leadership units, 40 credit points from a specialization group. Now that's important because sometimes we get students who do a little bit here, a little bit of there, a little bit of there. They get a general Master of Education course. If you want to have a named specialization, there are specific units that you must complete in order to qualify for that specialization in your degree. Electives, and you can choose from a wide range of those, and of course, again, the capstone. If we then talk about a bachelor's degree in an area other than education, it is clearly more general. 50 credit points from education, 40 credit points from electives, 30 credit points from capstone units. In addition to that, there are a couple of units that you need to complete about what education is. And the reason why we do that, and that's where it fits into that 160 credit points, is because people coming into an education degree need to have a good understanding, at least of some really core critical issues around what education is, where it fits in our society, and its purposes. And so if you come to us, and we welcome you to come to us if you don't have a background in education, but those units provide you with the, as it were, the necessary base to understand what education in Australia is so that you can benefit as much as you can from your studies. Now, there are two areas where in those specializations, some of you might be interested to pursue that you should be aware of when you're considering your enrolment. And one is TESOL and inclusive practice. TESOL we would call the teaching of English as a second or other language. And there is a requirement in some jurisdictions to have 22-day professional experience placement. And that's not something that necessarily the university has a control over. It is that those accrediting authorities, the Victorian government, the New South Wales government, the Queensland government, they set down that there needs to be some experience in the field of doing this in practice. And so as part of your studies, you'll be engaged in those experience placements. And similarly for inclusive practice, the Special and Inclusive Professional Experience has 30 days, and that's a unit that you will do out in an educational environment. So for those of you considering those parts of study, that can have some implications for if you are employed already in another location, another context. Are you able to take the time? Do you have some flexibility to do that? Do you have family commitments that you need to work around? So there are those important considerations for you to work through when you're starting to explore, do you want to have a specialization in those areas? Now, again, of course, you're able to undertake some of those units, but if you're going to do a specialization in those particular areas, you will be required to undertake those professional experiences. That's about the most of what we need to explore with you. We just want to talk about what you take away from it. There's some flexibility. You get the opportunity to take from your studies something that's really driving important. It's significant, you want to know more about, and that's what your capstone research project is about. Across the range of your studies, you will come into contact with ideas and theories and experiences, and sometimes you don't have as much time to spend in depth with those. The capstone gives you that opportunity. More importantly, it is what that does for your practice. We love the fact that students come to study with us, but in the end, what we're really interested in is how this makes a difference to what you do in your professional environment. What difference does it make on Monday, as the saying goes? Come along, you learn some theory, you develop some ideas, but importantly, we want you to go back with that knowledge and skills to improve your practice in your educational environment, whatever that may be. You can see a bit of a comment there from Fiona, one of our previous students. And I'm going to stop that now. I'll throw open to some of the questions that we've got. We'll be delighted to stop and chat with you as much as we need to. I'm going to turn that off and we'll go back, and Carmen, who's from our future study, I'll see what we're doing in the chat there. How are we going? Okay. Any questions, comments that come up along the way that we need to deal with?
There is a question in the Q&A section from Barbara, if you'd like to take a look at that one.
Okay, let me have a look. Okay, keen to know at some stage about how much course content would be relevant to university and adult learners. Okay, so one of the areas, and you mentioned that, Barbara, so thanks for that. The career development specialization is around, larger questions about how careers, sorts of skills that often careers advisors have, but also that can be applicable into adult and higher education. It is not a specific specialization that we have in higher ed. I need to be upfront, but that career education and development is about how the insights that come from particularly organizational psychology, career planning, certainly contemporary business challenges. Professor Jim Bright is one of our colleagues on staff here, and if you've not come across him, you will see him fairly regularly in the press talking about the ways that contemporary work and learning interacts in the kind of contemporary world that we've had since and as we go through the implications of COVID. I don't know, Barbara, whether that is a specific answer for you. You can perhaps come back to me about that. If there is something specifically about higher education, the Master of Education degree is perhaps not that one for you. Are there any further questions or reflections or comments or feedback?
Yep, there's one more there from Jenny, who's asked a question in the Q&A as well.
Great. Okay, brilliant. Jenny, thanks so much. Your question actually invokes a lot of memories from me about my own journey through master's study. How many units do you need to complete part-time? And the answer is generally there will be 1 or 2 that people will do. And that is going to be contingent on a number of factors. Firstly, how much time you've got to be able to put to your study. Secondly, what work demands that you have. And I would say from a personal perspective, what type of family and other social obligations you have. I was a father of 3 young children, and I was a head of department when I was doing my own master's study. I was working over an hour from where I lived. That's a very significant challenge, and it's investment of time that you need to give over a number of years. I can't tell you exactly, Jenny, what ones to do or how much to do, but I can say that looking at your work, your current professional obligations, your family obligations, and how much interest that you've got, make no bones about it. Undertaking this type of work on top of your already busy professional life, and especially after what we've been going through for the last couple of years, and for those of you, perhaps if you're in Victoria, what you're currently going through, or Western New South Wales, they're really challenging times. And it's a big effort to be able to conduct your studies in a constructive and productive and successful way. So they are the types of questions you want to be asking yourself. How much time do I need for work, for family, and then for study? And as a consequence of that, maybe 1 unit is a good solution. Maybe 2 units is quite appropriate, and you can manage that. How are we going, Carmen? Anything further?
Yes, so there's another one in the Q&A, and it's can you explain further the capstone units and how it works?
Okay, let me just have a bit of a look at that. Thanks. Okay, so all of our units are listed on the website. The course enrollment guides are there. You can go and have a look at them, and they give you details about what the content is, what the course learning outcomes are, and what types of assessments are related to that. In terms of the career development, if you go on and do a search for a Master of Education or a graduate certificate in education in career development, it will give you those specific units that comprise that specialization, and you can go in and have a look at the details of those that are in there. Sorry, Carmen, you mentioned about the capstone. Can you just recap that for me?
Yeah, so we've got an anonymous question, and it's just asked, can you explain further the capstone units and how it works?
Great. Okay. At the end of all of your studies, many of you will be familiar with, doing a 2,500 word paper or a 3,000 word paper, and you answer a question that ostensibly a lecturer has set for you. The capstone is a larger piece of research work that you have the opportunity to be able to set, research, analyze, and report. And so we're across 9 different electives that you've done, or units that you've done, you come across something and you go, oh, that's really interesting. I'd like to know more about that. Or this is really important in my professional practice, and I'd love to be able to delve into that a little bit further. That's what you do in your capstone. The idea of it is that it says at the end of all of your journey, at the end of all of your learning, what is it that you can present as a major piece of work, a 9,000 word piece of work that represents something of significance and importance and practical relevance to your work. A couple of others that have just come through. Okay, so in terms of the inclusive practice list of schools to contact, make arrangements with the school ourselves, those that are involved directly in inclusive practice are better positioned to advise you about that. We do have in other areas of our professional practice a series of conversations around, if you're already in a school, can you double up on that? And there are some circumstances where that's been approved, and there are others where it hasn't. let me step back and put my hat back on as a school principal. I should have said earlier on, Carmen, I'd been a principal for 11 and a half years before I came into this space. So I look at a lot of this work from two different lenses. One of the reasons why I would say, if you're already in a school, engaged in some of these practices, it's sometimes good to be in a different space and get some different perspectives on the way that people do things. Sometimes we do what we do and think that it's the best thing. And sometimes we go elsewhere and go, wow, hadn't thought of doing it that way. That's a really interesting perspective. I need to think about that a little bit further. So there's both. It can be, and there are circumstances where it has been, but there is value in being able to do it separately in a different location. But as I said earlier, that may have some employment and or family consequences that you need to think through fairly carefully. I've just seen another question come through. Can completing the Master of Education lead you into a PhD or a Doctor of Education? Into a PhD, there would be some further research training that would need to be done. The university here didn't proceed with or didn't continue a doctorate of education because they wanted to develop the research base a little bit more. So we now no longer offer a doctor of education in that regard. So there will be some more research training that would be required for that. And this is actually a discussion that's currently underway between myself as the Head of Postgraduate Studies, the Dean of Graduate Research, so that we can indeed bolster our research skills, experience, and preparation for those students who do wish to pursue a doctoral degree. We need to be clear that for students coming into a Master of Education, that is a journey that many of them are not necessarily geared towards. So we have some other strategies that we can support if that's of interest to you. If you do enroll and that is of interest, my advice is contact us at the earliest possibility so that we can build in to your program of study some of those research training experiences that will open the door for you should you wish to pursue doctoral study. How are we doing, Carmen? Anything further there?
It looks like that's everything at the moment. If anyone does have any additional questions, now's the time.
And again, there will be so much that you need to process that you need a little bit of time to do so. And I encourage you to do that and then get back in contact either with Ask ACU. You can contact me directly as the Head of Postgraduate Studies. I'm really grateful that for many of you, it's the end of a busy day and you've taken the time to be here with us. And we hope that this has been a valuable conversation, that it's given you some insights. But where those questions do remain, please reach out to us. We'd love to be able to help you. What a great question. In terms of career progression, how beneficial is this course? My goodness, my answer to that, to whomever you are, is how long is a piece of string? When I did my own master's work, I didn't do it because it was going to be a career progression. I did it because I was passionate about the particular area that I was interested in. I did it because I wanted to know more. I wanted to be a great practitioner. And I would suggest that that's the motivation. It's a not inconsiderable amount of money to invest in your own professional learning. And if you see it as a career step, absolutely, it's going to be beneficial. Nobody is going to look beyond if you've done postgraduate study, especially if you're doing it part-time, and go, this person doesn't have a great work ethic. They will say, this person has got a fantastic work ethic. But more to the point, can I encourage you that it's what you can learn about ideas, about skills, about experiences, and about who you are for yourself. They are the things, and if I put my hat back on as a principal, I would say I will be looking for heart. I will be looking for dedication and commitment. And anybody that turns up and undertakes this type of study in whatever field is going to be, in my view, worth me considering for a role in their school. It looks like career development does not have CSP places. Carmen, I have to declare a kind of technical knowledge issue there. Carmen, are you able to make any comment about that?
I'm just taking a look now, but Barbara, it might be something that we'll have to get our Ask ACU team to follow up with you after this evening, which we can certainly do. I'm just checking to see whether I can access that at the moment, but it doesn't look like I've got a clear answer for you. So I think what would be best is if we do have our Ask ACU follow up with you just on that one. I can see that if you've, we can see it's you, Barbara, so I've got your details here and I'll ensure that we do follow that up for you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Carmen. And as we say, the purpose of being here tonight is to say, are these the types of ideas, are these the types of experiences that are going to match your aspirations, that are going to match the type of desires and goals that you have? And if so, that's great. Some of those other technical aspects, as Carmen has said, we can find those out and get back to you. May I reiterate the question around that career progression? My own personal advice is, do something because it really excites and inspires and attracts and gives you great, to be honest, joy about wanting to find out some more. They are the important motivators. Good research shows that at a graduate level, particularly where you are working, many of you, full or nearly full-time roles, you've got a busy family and social life as well, to add to that, the idea of doing some postgraduate study, the motivation needs to be really clear that the purposes of why you're doing it are intrinsic to the nature of the study itself. And if I can give you any encouragement, focus in on those things, and then the rest of those elements become, as it were, tools towards the conclusion of your studies in a constructive way. Any further questions? Otherwise, we might draw our time together to a close. No, great. Carmen, anything further that you'd like to add? There's a comment from Carmen there in the chat.
Yeah, I've just added in the Ask ACU link. So if you do have any questions, you're very welcome to reach out and we'll be happy to follow up with any further information.
Can I again, on behalf of the National School of Education and our head, Professor Donna King, thank you for being part of our time together tonight. If after you've given some consideration to the ideas and the questions that are being put to you, we would love to be able to talk further with you, and you can do so through those links that Carmen has provided. I trust that you have a safe, refreshing, and enjoyable evening, and particularly for those of you that are again under some significant duress, take care, stay safe. It's important. You are significant in the life of our communities, and we want to affirm the contribution that you're making at this time and through to the end of this academic year in schools. All the very best. Take care.